Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm happy to move this microphone. I'm going to stand over here if you'd like me to move your microphone over here. I want to first start off by thanking the League of Women Voters for inviting us to be here, and thank you for taking an active part in our community and for the positive things you're doing. I want to acknowledge my lovely wife who is with us today. If you haven't got a chance to say hello to Ken, I encourage you to do that. I think if you get to know her, you'll fall in love with her just as I fell in love with her. When you start off a presentation, they always teach you to start off with something patriotic, share some amazing facts, or share an amusing anecdote. So as I was thinking about what I might do today, I thought, well, maybe we can sing the Nevada State song. It is Nevada's 150th anniversary. But I thought I might be the only one singing, so that would not be good. But it's Nevada's birthday, 150th birthday this year. So if you don't know the Nevada State song, I'd encourage you to learn it. My kids came home singing it, and I said, "What are you singing?" And they taught it to me, and I actually really like it. I thought, well, maybe I can share some amazing facts with you about long speeches and short speeches, and the fact that one person even died after giving a speech. But I decided I'd go with an amusing anecdote. Some of you have heard me speak, you may have heard this one before, but I'll go ahead and try and share it with you anyway. There was an old man who went to a doctor. He's very concerned about his wife's hearing. He was trying to find a solution to help her with her hearing, and so he goes to this doctor. The doctor says, well, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. Why don't you go and try an experiment? When you go home, stand behind her about 20 feet and ask her a question, and move forward until you get a response. And so the man, excited to find a solution to the problem, goes home and he sees his wife is preparing a meal. He stands behind her about 20 feet and he says, "Honey, what's for dinner?" No response. He moves up about 5 feet. Again, the same thing happens, no response. He moves up to 10 feet, no response. And finally, when he's 5 feet behind her, he says, "Honey, what's for dinner?" And she says, "For the 4th time, it's lasagna." My wife tells me that there's probably a message in that I need to pay attention to. This is a photo of our court staff, and I wanted to point out our court clerks that are there with me that are making sure the business of the court gets done. And I couldn't get along without them. I wanted to recognize them. I've been asked today to talk about domestic violence from a court perspective, and we'll also be hearing from some other great guest speakers that will talk about domestic violence from their perspective. I wanted to mention that or ask for your understanding ahead of time. There might be issues or questions that come up where I need to refer to some of the other speakers. There's a requirement that I stay fair and impartial in handling court matters, so I want to make sure I'm doing that to avoid any question in that area. But I'm going to touch briefly on what the courts here in Mesquite are doing. I wanted to talk to you about protective orders in case some of you might not be familiar with what a protective order is. And then I'll also touch on some of the things that I've been taught as I've attended training regarding regarding domestic violence at the judicial training that I've attended this past year. Let me briefly touch on the work that the courts are doing here in Mesquite. We've got a justice court, a municipal court, and we also handle juvenile court matters here in Mesquite. In justice court, we handle criminal cases. Our court gets requests for arrest or search warrants, which are reviewed by, which I get the opportunity to review. We also handle the beginning stages of felony and gross misdemeanor cases. These are the more serious cases that are filed in our courts. We also occasionally handle misdemeanor cases. However, most of the misdemeanor cases or the lower level criminal cases, those are filed in our municipal court. In addition to criminal cases, our justice court handles protective orders, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a few minutes. We also handle civil cases. These are small claims disputes. These are typically disputes between individuals that are under $7,500 or disputes involving businesses under $7,500. We also handle civil cases. These are disputes under $10,000. And while small claims cases, you don't often see attorneys, you would more likely see attorneys in civil cases. We also handle landlord-tenant disputes. And an example of a landlord-tenant dispute that might come to justice court would be an eviction. In municipal court, the cases we typically see there are traffic violations or criminal cases. These are the misdemeanors that I mentioned. Examples of misdemeanors might be trespassing, disturbing the peace. Some of the more serious misdemeanor cases we see are driving under the influence of alcohol or domestic battery, first or second offenses. We also handle juvenile court matters, and I think there might have been a question about juvenile court cases that are handled here in town. Years ago, all the juvenile court cases were handled in Las Vegas by district court judges or hearing masters. However, a number of years ago, we were able to, the former judge who was here, Judge Dodd, was appointed as a hearing master and was able to handle some of the juvenile cases here in town, which proved to be a benefit because it reduced on the travel time and we were able to handle some of the things locally. So at this point, if someone's been taken into custody in connection with the juvenile matter and they remain in custody, they're seen down in Las Vegas. However, if someone's released with a court date, then we're able to see them here in Mesquite. And really the types of cases that might come into juvenile court would be the same types of criminal cases you would see in adult court for misdemeanors or gross misdemeanors or felonies. And it really runs the gamut of types of crimes. Let me take a few minutes and talk about protective orders. What is a protective order? Well, basically it's an order that is issued by a court that tells a person not to contact another person or not to go to a place where that person might be. And that's a very basic definition, but I think that pretty well covers it. There are various types of protective orders that can be sought. Protective order can be sought in a domestic violence situation, if there's harassment, stalking, or aggravated stalking. A protective order can be sought if there's been a sexual assault situation or workplace harassment. And the process is very simple. An application can be obtained at the clerk's office, or it can be downloaded from the court website. And if what happens is there's an application for a temporary protective order. A temporary protective order can stay in place for up to 30 days. And if that application is granted and somebody wants to extend the protective order, they can make that request with the court, and then the court would set a hearing, and the person who would be the subject of the protective order would be entitled to notice and an opportunity to come and attend that person, as well as the person that has requested the extension. And let me tell you the length of time. Basically, a protective order could be extended for up to a total of 1 year from the time when the first protective order is sought. Now, I wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about domestic violence, and I understand that the group is also interested in getting some statistics about the number of cases being filed in our courts. This past summer, before I get to that, I want you to know that the Nevada judicial system takes domestic violence issues very seriously. Over the course of the last year, I've attended probably 4 weeks worth of training at various conferences and classes I've been required to attend. And at virtually every conference or course I've been required to attend, there's been training for judges on domestic violence. This past summer, one of the classes I attended at the National Judicial College in Reno, there was a presentation on domestic violence, and something the instructor shared with us really resonated with me. He pointed out that domestic violence affects all segments of society, all races, all economic groups, all ages, all religions, and all sexual groups. And I was interested to see if that held true in Nevada.